Right, today we're going to talk about the partial quotient of division, and we're going to do some practice problems together. So if you do not already have out your math journal, please make sure you get that out so that you can do these problems along with me. So we've been looking at division, and we looked at how to draw quick pictures to help us when we're dividing large numbers. Today we're going to look at another strategy called partial quotient. So for example, if we were to take this problem, 884 divided by 4, we're going to try to find the answer to that. First, I want us to look at the different parts of a division problem. So there are 3 parts. You have the dividend, which is the number being divided, the divisor, which is what we're dividing by, and then our answer in a division problem is called the quotient. When you set up your problem and you're ready to divide, it's going to look like this, where you have your divisor on the outside, your dividend goes on the inside, and then our quotient, once we get our answer, would go up here on top. So what we're going to do now is we're going to practice solving this problem together, and you're going to solve this in your journal with me. So while I'm going through it, if you need to pause the video so you can make sure that when you're done, your journal looks the same way mine does. So I'd like for us to first go ahead and set up the problem. So we're going to divide 884 divided by 4. And this is not a simple math fact that you will automatically know in your head. It's something that we're going to work at to understand how to solve. So we have 884 divided by 4. And the first thing I'm going to have us do is create a think box. And inside this think box, we're going to list the facts about 4 that we know. And the 3 facts that we should always start with are 1, 10, and 100. Those are 3 benchmark numbers that you should hopefully be able to multiply with very quickly. So we know that 4 times 1 is 4, 4 times 10 is 40, 4 times 100 is 400. And this 4 that I'm circling right here, this comes from our divisor. So our divisor is what's going to make up our think box. So now that we have our think box ready, we're getting all of our math facts out ahead of time. Now that this is ready, we're ready to start dividing. So the way that we do this is we examine the numbers that we have in our think box, and we see which one of these is closest to our dividend or closest to 884. So when we look through these numbers, 400 is the closest number we have to 884. So that's where we're going to start. We're going to subtract 400. And I'm going to draw the line all the way over here. And I want you to think, what did we multiply 4 by to get 400? And if you don't remember, you can look back in your think box. So 4 times something is 400. And we can look over here and see that 4 times 100 is 400. So this is where I'm going to keep track of what we were multiplying by. So now we're ready to subtract. 4 minus 0 is 4. 8 minus 0 is 8. 8 minus 4 is 4. So we're left with 484. So now what we do is we start that entire process over again. We go back to our think box and we see, are there any facts that we have that are close to what we have here? We can use 400 again because 400 is very close to 484. So we're going to subtract 400. And you're going to do that same thought process again where you think, well, what did I multiply 4 by to get 400? And we know that 4 times 100 gives us 400. So we're going to keep track of our thinking over here. And then we're ready to subtract. 4 minus 0 is 4. 8 minus 0 is 8. 4 minus 4 is 0. You can leave that off, or I'll just put a quick imaginary 0 there. Right? We're going to keep doing this process until we get as close to 0 as we can. We're not at 0 yet, so we've got to go back to our think box. When we look, our fact that we've been using, 4 times 100, gives us 400. 400 is a lot more than 84 that we have here. So you get to be Ariana Grande for a minute and you can say, thank you, next, we no longer need that fact. So now we look and we can use our fact of 40. So we can subtract 84 minus 40. To get the digit that goes here, we have to think, what did we multiply 4 by to get 40? And if you go back to our think box, you can see that that is 10. So we're keeping track of our partial quotients over here on the side. So we're going to subtract 84 minus 40. 4 minus 0 is 4. 8 minus 4 is 4. And we're left with 44. So we're going to repeat that process yet again. So this, if you can learn the steps to solve these, it's just repetition until you get to your answer. We're just doing repeated subtraction. So we can use 40 again. So we're going to do 44 minus 40. And to get 40, we multiplied 4 by 10. So I'm going to put my 10 over here. When we subtract 44 minus 40, we're left with 4. We are not to 0 yet, so we have to go again. So we go back to our think box. We have 4 times 10 equals 40. 40 is much larger than 4, so we can no longer use this fact. We can say, thank you, next. We no longer need that fact in our answer box. So we can now look at 4 times 1. 4 times 1 gives us 4, so we can subtract 4. And when you do 4 minus 4, we're left with 0, which is what we were trying to get to. Now, we're not quite done yet. There's one more step we have to do in order to get our quotient that goes up here. We have to add together all of these partial quotients that we took out. So you're going to add together 100, 100, 10, 10, and 1. If you need to write them, you can write them. That's totally fine. If you can use mental math to add them, that is fine too. But for this part, we're adding together those partial quotients to get our overall quotient or answer for this problem. So we have 1, 1 plus 1 is 2, 2, 1 and 1 is 2. So our answer for this problem is 221. Great. We're going to try one more together before you get the opportunity to try some on your own. So let's try $1,872 divided by 6. And remember that if you need to pause the video, please pause it so that you can make sure you're following along with me step by step. So when we solve this problem, 1,872 divided by 6, the very first thing that we're going to do is we're going to create a think box. And that's where we're going to list the facts that we know about the number 6. So we're going to start with 6 times 1, 6 times 10, and 6 times 100. Those are the 3 facts that we should always start with because those are going to be the most helpful when we're first starting out with division. So we can go ahead and fill in those facts that 6 times 1 is 6, 6 times 10 is 60, and 6 times 100 is 600. Right? After we have our facts inside of our think box, then we're ready to start doing that repeated subtraction in order to get our answer for this problem. So we're going to start with 6 times 100, and that is 600. So we're going to take out 600 to start with, and we're going to make sure we don't forget to keep track of our thinking over here. So we're going to go ahead and subtract, and we're left with 1,272. We can use this fact again, so we're going to use 600 again. So we're going to subtract 600 and keep track of our numbers over here. 2, 7, 6. So we're left with 672. Now, we can still use 600 because 672 is larger than this. So we're going to use 600 one more time. Then we're going to subtract. And we're left with 72. Now, when we look back at our think box, we can no longer use 600 because it is too large. So we can say, thank you, next, and we can move on to our next fact. This is where, if you know your multiplication facts, it can come in very handy for you. So if you know your multiplication facts, 6 times something equals 72. So I want you to pause for just a second and see if you can remember what you can multiply 6 by to get 72. Right. If you've been doing reflex and you've been practicing those multiplication facts, you would know that 6 times 12 equals 72. So we just added another fact to our think box. And if we look, we have 72 over here. So we can just use this fact. So I'm going to subtract 72. The number that I multiplied 6 by to get 72 was 12. So I'm going to add 12 here. And then we're ready to subtract. When you subtract, we did 0 out, so we've got 0. And then remember, the last step to get your answer is to add up these partial quotients. So you're going to add up 100 plus 100 plus 100 plus 12. And remember, if you can do mental math, then you don't have to write that part down. But we've got 312 as the answer. So our quotient for this problem is 312.